All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical Colleges, and as part of my never-ending desire to have people understand the concepts that are in the AWD 1000 web development technologies and AWD 1111 database-driven web development, I think it is. I'm going over a series of ebooks that were written by Mr. Flavio Copes. So far, I've gone over all of Mr. Copes's ebook on HTML, and now I'm in the ebook that is on CSS. So I'm not too far in it. I'm about 13 pages in. And we're going to talk selectors. Some of this we've already touched on. So when you talk about a selector, it's what comes before the curly brace. All right. Now, I want to quickly show you because it's what we're going to be getting into in just a minute. I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to where we've got this another paragraph, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add about, I don't know, let's say a half dozen of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we should have 7 total paragraphs in here, right? Let's look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's change the size and make them smaller again. All right, sometimes I'm doing this from home, and sometimes that grandfather clock behind me just makes too much noise, so I just paused for a moment. I'm going to come into my style, and I'm going to just set this font size back to about half of what it was, so 1.5 rem. And that'll make this easier to take a look at. There you go. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. Now, the first thing I'm going to show you, it's kind of silly, but I just want to show you that a couple things here. So I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to add in front of each one of these, I'm going to add, let's see, ID equals para1, which is a crummy name. I'm just telling you right now. But I'm going to put 7 of these in here. And what I'm showing you right now is actually pretty stupid, to be honest with you. I don't know why I would ever do this. But I just want to show you that indeed, if for some reason you wanted to, you could. Again, para 6 is a crummy name, for example, here, because what if I decide I'm going to change the order of these? You know, you just wouldn't want to say this. But I'm just showing this to you here for effect. Now, it doesn't change at all the way this looks. But I am going to make a change now, and that is I'm going to come back into my CSS file. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, well, if I've got an ID which starts there with para1, or if I've got an ID with para2, or if I've got an ID with para3, let's leave para4 out right now. So para5, para6, and para7. So the only one we have not changed is the 4th paragraph down. And 1, 2, 3, 4th paragraph down, 5, 6, 7. Now, why I would do something like that, I don't know. But I wanted to show you 2 things. First, if I want each one of these to at least essentially be able to have their own stuff, I give each one an ID. All right. Well, let's say that I did this. And let's even go back and add this. We'll add the para4. You don't have to do these in order. But doing that now like this, now all of the paragraphs. Oh, that one didn't change, so why not? Because I spelled para wrong. So now they're all changed. That's all fine, right? Okay. But if I was going to go to all that trouble, I wouldn't do it like this. I'm going to come back again, and I'm going to put in here a class which starts with a period. And let's just call them you should give it, again, I could call it blue big text, but what if I change the color later? What if I change the size later? Okay, how about just colorful big, which is kind of silly, but that's just what I'm going to call it. All right, so now with that, I can add a class to each one of these. So I can say class equals colorful big. All right, now let's see if it worked first of all, before I apply it to any of the other ones. See how that one? Okay, so let's go in and add it to each of the other ones. And save. And there you go. So why would I still have those IDs? Well, what if I wanted every one of these to be a different color? So I could come in here and I could say pound para1 color pink. And I'm just going to do a bunch of copying, even though I'm going to change the color every time. All right, so we've got para1 is pink. Oops. Para2 will make green. Para3 will make orange. Para4 will make red. Para5 will make, I don't know, black. Sure. Para6 will make, how about goldenrod? And para7 will make purple. All right. And pretty obvious when you take a look at it. We've changed each paragraph individually. Since we used IDs, we again should only have one thing called para1 on any web page, one called para2 on any web page, etc. All right. Now, the other thing to realize is colorful big that we used right here, we don't have to just apply it to paragraphs. So we've got colorful big on all these, right? What if we come in here and decide, how about on this particular list element? I'm going to say class equal colorful big. It's going to look maybe a little strange, but there it is. So again, we can do this any way we want to. And what I was trying to show you right there, very quickly, is how we can do IDs, which again, there should be one per page. And you say ID in your HTML, ID equals. And in your CSS file, you use a hashtag or a pound sign. And there should only be one of those with that name per page, as opposed to a class, which in your HTML you say class equals, and in your CSS file you use a period. And there can be, you can apply classes to any and everything on a page. All right, so that was just like a little lead-in, for lack of better words. But they go in and they give you a class example, and they also talk about combining selectors, and I've done all that now. You can also have more than one class, but when you do, you separate it with a blank space. You do not separate it with a comma. So if I come in here, let's add another class. So there's our class colorful big, and let's have we'll have dot Arial font, which again is not a great name, but I'm going to say font family Arial. Okay. And in here, just let's grab one of these. It doesn't matter. How about paragraph 3? So we're going to say colorful big font Arial. And does that one now look different? Doesn't really look like. Did I give it the right name? I said Arial font, not font Arial. So let's change that. In fact, let's make this, we'll call this impact font. If you remember, that impact looked really kind of strange. So impact, okay, we'll just leave it like that. So this is impact font. All right, and we'll come back here and we'll say this right here. And again, that is just on the third paragraph. So notice how the first, second, third paragraph has got a different font. All right. Now that's kind of the easy stuff. Hopefully that made sense to people. I've already shown you how you can combine classes and IDs. You can group selectors together. So what does this mean? This means that all paragraphs and anything with a class of dog name will be yellow with a font color. All right. And that's what a lot of this stuff in here is. Now let's take a look at some of the symbols. All right. So notice we've got here, let's put this in. All right, so I'm going to take what we have in here so far, because I think we've kind of worked this sort of to death, and I'm going to comment it out. Okay, and we'll come back up to the top here and we'll paste this in. So we've got a span with the word hello. All right, so that should just show hello on the screen. Then we've got a paragraph with my dog name is, and in yellow it should say Roger. I didn't set that up yet, but I will. All right, so we've got a class called dog name. Let's comment out everything we put in here so far, because we're not using any of it anymore. And we want in here a class, so dot, called dog name. And we want it to be color yellow. All right, so what do we have now? I probably didn't save one or both pages. So file, save, file, save. My dog's name is in yellow. We've got Roger. Okay. And again, hopefully that makes sense to everyone. Now, this says, see how we used a space between the P and the S. This says all spans within a paragraph. So I'm going to change what I've got because I don't think I did it like that. So we could add this. And this says anything, oops, try that again. This says that anything with a class of dog name or any span within a paragraph. All right, so we've already got here class is dog name, and we do have a span that's within a paragraph. All right, but let's do another paragraph. And that should have no formatting on it whatsoever, and it doesn't. All right, this yellow, I'm sorry, to me it's very hard to read. So let's change it. Let's just make it purple. Now it's purple. I think that's a little easier on the eyes. Okay, all right. But if we come in here and we say class equal dog name, it should be purple, and it is. If we come in here and we say just the word span, and I'm not going to put the period in there. So another paragraph for you. So now notice that this is purple, but this is not purple. All right? It says to make the dependency strict on the first level, you use the greater than sign between these. So this says I want only paragraphs within spans that are within a paragraph to be yellow. So let's look at that. And we've got a span within a paragraph, but let's remove this one. So this span will not be within a paragraph. It's just a span kind of out there in nowhere land. This should have no formatting on it whatsoever. And it doesn't. But this does. All right? Adjacent sibling selectors let us style, as it says there, an element only if it's preceded by a specific element. All right, so this will only show a span that's preceded by a paragraph. Let's change this one, and it's going to be hopefully at least something that you find kind of interesting in here. All right, so I'm removing all of these, and I'm setting it to that. And instead of purple, it's kind of hard to read too. Let's make it red. So one thing about red is red. So another paragraph. Why did that one work? Well, let's look at our text here. Notice that span is not within anything. So this says basically paragraphs followed by a span, which is what we have here. But this span now did nothing because it's not following a paragraph. It's inside of a paragraph. So it did nothing. All right. It says there's a lot more that we can use that we're going to hit on. Okay, let's quickly go through this and then we'll put this lesson to rest. It says cascade is a fundamental concept of CSS. What does it mean? It's the process or algorithm that determines the properties applied to each element on the page. It does so taking into consideration specificity, importance, inheritance, and order in the file, and any kind of conflicts that you can have. It says two or more competing rules applied to the same element. All right, the system may be confused as far as which one to apply. So CSS comes into play. It says what happens when an element is targeted by multiple rules with different selectors that affect the same property. Let's not even use their example. Let's just grab one of these up here. All right, so this is all we've got right now. So let's say that we want all paragraphs should have a color of orange, and just so they stick out, we'll put a font size of 2.5 rem. All right, what did that do? Well, that should be pretty obvious. That's orange, right? All right. And let's have another one, because in here we've got a class of dog name. So I'm going to put in here a class of dog name. And now I'm going to put in here color pink. And let's see what color the name of the dog is. And it's pink. What if I reverse these two and put in first the dog name pink, then the color for the entire paragraph orange? It still worked. Why did it still work? All right, and it still worked because of something referred to as specificity. It says everything with this class will take precedence over a paragraph. But going the other way, the same thing happened. The class took precedence over the paragraph. What if I do this? What if I've got two different classes? All right, so I'm going to call this dog name 1. All right, and I'm going to call this, I'll put right underneath it, dog name 2. And for now, let's just remove this that we've got in here. All right, so dog name 1 will say the color should be pink, and dog name 2 will say the color should be brown. What color is this going to be? Well, neither. Well, let's see why. I'm surprised at that, but it could be I screwed it up. Oh, because I don't have a dog name 1 and a dog name 2. So we're going to say here class equal dog name 1. Oops. Dog name 1, dog name 2. All right, I'm thinking it's going to be brown, and it is. What if I reversed those in my CSS file? So I use dog name 2 first, and then dog name 1. All right, it's not going to change. It's still, oh, it is pink. Well, let's see. Dog name 2 and dog name 1. Well, you can see where they're listed. So what do we have here? Dog name 1 and dog name 2. All right. I would have thought that we would have wanted to do it like this. Okay, dog name 2, dog name 1. But I believe that what happens is the system goes in and it looks and it says it's positional in nature. So it says, oh, that one's first, that one's second. So take the last one and apply that. All right. They talk about how you calculate specificity, and you look at again those 4 things that they mentioned up above. Specificity, importance, inheritance, and order and file. And you give each one of them typically a number. All right, and it says the higher the number, all right, the more important it's going to be. I'm not going to run through that. I found that a little bit confusing when I walked through it. So let's stop here on importance, and we'll pick that up in the next lecture.